Hello to the regular visitors of the channel, and a special welcome and invite to the new visitors to subscribe. Finally, we can remove this one. You just need to have it a little away from the body, so we can run wires through this area. So in the front of the car, that's everything, and now we have to do the same on the other. Now it's time to pull out the door panels. First of all, you've got to remove this little cover in here. Gently with a screwdriver. This one comes off very easy. Now you've got to take off the window controls. It comes very easy as well. Just be gentle with a screwdriver from the rear part. And disconnect the harness. Then you need to remove this bezel around the handle. This one, it is much more difficult. Try to use something not to damage the plastic part. Once you get some clips unhooked, then you can just slip your hands in there and it will come off. You'll have to remove 2 Torx screws in here behind the handle. And now the final part, it's the most awful one, because you'll have to use some force in here. Try to get a screwdriver below the door panel right here, so you can just put your fingers behind it. Again, try to use something so you don't scratch anything, and of course try not to use excessive force in here, or you can damage the fiberglass. Okay, if you look here, I was able to get the tip of my fingers in there. Now you just gotta pull hard, it will, the sound is terrible, is the clips going out, but that's the way to do it. Okay, once the clips below are already loose, you just pull upwards. Okay, and that's it. Always after removing these panels, check if all your clips are still in place and if all of them are complete, or because it is possible that some of them might get broken in the process of just pulling them off. Also check here in the door if the white sockets for the clips are still there, because it is possible that when pulling off the door panel, they can come off with the clip itself. Of course, you have to do the same on the other door, but as before, I'll just show you with this one. The other side is exactly the same. So if you take a look here, this is the little Kicker 3.5 inches twiddler, which was replaced, and this is the stock Bose mid-range woofer, and the little amplifier is behind this. So we're gonna take off everything here and replace it with the new component speakers. So let's continue. With both doors uncovered, you see there, now we can remove the speakers. Okay, first of all, unplug the connector, and you can start removing the screws. Okay, and the whole assembly comes out. This little box in here is the Bose amplifier. So this whole unit is just going out. And of course, do the same on the other side, on the passenger door. With the speakers removed from the doors, now we have to make some room down here in the passenger area, so we can run the power wires for the amplifiers. So let's start by removing the carpet. Okay, there's a little panel behind the carpets or the floor mats. Keep in mind that there's also like a little hook on this panel, so take it off gently. And we'll have also to remove these these covers in here. There's also a clip holding this. Okay, with that off, now we get access to this area. And this is where the cables from the battery will come in. The unassembly part of the process is pretty much done. The last thing you can do is on the trunk, but it's so simple that it's not even considered a step because you'll have to do it anyway. It's just pulling apart the carpet, and so you can guide the wires coming from the front part of the car and routing them into the area where the amplifier will be finally positioned. So now let's start with the wiring itself. I'll start with the hardest part, which is bringing the power wire from the engine bay into the car. So I have already done this process for installing the previous self-powered subwoofer. So there's already a power wire in there. So what I'll just do right now is to use the same wire as a tether for bringing in the new wire. But in case you don't have anything in there to use as a tether, you can just use this kind of semi-rigid wire. You can just solder one tip and slip it inside the boot or the grommet, if you can call it that way, and it will slip in easily inside the cabin area. It's not. To make this work properly, what I will do is to solder the old wire into the new wire. So I just removed a little bit of the protective jacket of the cable on both wires, and I will just solder them so they won't separate when they are slipping inside the boot. I will just tape them up just for any of these little wires. They can bend inside the boot and they can just block the passing of the cable. So let's do it. Let's do this. And let's see if this will work or not. The best thing you can do is to check your tether in here. It will be your wire if your flexible wire, if you're doing this without the tether. But you can now start pulling from the inside of the car as close as you can. I'm pretty sure I'm not showing you anything on the video here, so I'll just stop recording and show you when it is on the other side. Now I'm inside the car, and the bad news is that it snapped. But fortunately the tip was in there, so I was able to grab it, and it's now inside the car. It is just now to keep pulling gently, because the cable is pretty thick, so you want to do it slowly until it is completely inside of the car, and you'll just need to leave up here just enough length so you can wire it to the fuse, which I think will be placed here, and into the battery terminal. I'm gonna stop here a moment to warn you that if you pull too hard the cable, the grommet might be pulled as well out of the firewall housing, like in this case, and it is not easy to correctly put it back there. Now most of the wire is already inside the car. Let me show you. So this was the hardest part, I think, but now what I'm gonna do is to connect this cable into the body positive terminal of the battery and the fuse. I'm gonna drill a little hole in here, which is the position I think I'm gonna leave it. And the reason I'm doing this first is to know which is the exact length I will need in here, so I can pull back the rest to take advantage of the whole length of the cable into the back of the car. I have already marked the drill position here. And this is where I have decided to leave the fuse. I'll use this self-threading inox screw, and I'll drill with a smaller drill bit, so the screw will be able to make its own thread on the car plastic. So let's do this. Oh, it will be better to remove the fuse cap to have better access for the motor tool. And that's it. Now let's thread the screw in there to see if it will fit. Okay, it's making the screw in there, the thread. Yes, it will be secure. Now I'll just clean the area, and that's it for the fuse. Next, I'm gonna solder the terminal to the cable. I will use some heat shrink to have it covered. The wire here is fully connected now to the battery terminal, the positive one of course, but we must add the fuse. So if it's gonna be here, to make it look organized, I'm gonna split the wire here so it can be correctly guided. To make a clean cut, I'm gonna use these mega scissors. Okay, that's indeed a clean cut. Now I must strip the tip of the wire to make it fit in here into the fuse terminal. I have stripped the cable with a regular blade. Just be careful to cut at least the least wires possible in there. We'll put this cap right here and this little grommet and I'll use this adhesive clip so I can leave the wire correctly guided. Right here. So I'll put it in this part so the cable stays in position right there. As a bonus recommendation, I will encourage you to use these kind of ferrules. Actually, I took the tip from a video from Car Audio Fabrication channel from Mark. As you can notice, the cables entering the fuse the bare wire is exposed a little and it shouldn't. So the ferrule will just resolve this with no problem. On the whole installation in here will be cleaner. And these are cheap and they come in all of the gauge sizes according to your needs. Let me quickly show you how to install these ferrules. The little grommet you see in there was included with the fuse. This depends on the kind of fuse you have, but this one has it, so I'll use it. Insert a little piece of heat shrink in the cable and expose a section with equal length of the ferrule. The wires on the cable should be exposed on the same length of the ferrule. Now bring the ferrule all the way to the bottom until it touches the insulation material of the cable, and bring the heat shrink a little bit up into the ferrule so it can grab it. This will be just for holding the ferrule in place, so it won't. The heat shrink won't hold finally the ferrule in place. It's just some help for holding it and for making it look nice and better isolation. Then bring the grommet all the way back to the bottom so it covers the heat shrink, and insert it into the fuse. Hold it with your hands because still the ferrule can come out. Insert the hex bolt into the fuse. Remember, this depends on your type of fuse, but tightening the screw, it's what will crimp the ferrule in place. So tighten the screw to the end. It should be really tight. And finally, cover the fuse. You can start routing your power wire right here behind the foam panels. If you want, you can add some wire jacket. I don't know the name of this in English, but you can put this over the wire for some extra insulation. I'm gonna run the speaker wires close to this one, so I'll add this and another one of these jackets for the speaker wires, because you're not supposed to run speaker wires close to the power wire. So anyway, find your way with the power wire. Right there, and you can come right here into the floor carpet. You will find the lower part of the seat belt, so you will have to go around it. Now I have reached the place where the ground point is. If you check here, just by the side kick panel, and below the seat belt mechanism trim, is right here. It is to the side right now. If you see that connector in there, that's one of the ground points for this car. The brown wire you see there was the previous ground for this Rockville subwoofer. So I'll just remove that cable and put a new terminal and just attach there the new larger gauge wire for the new amplifier wire. You can take this opportunity to clean this grounding point. If you check here, the connector, it's with a little bit of dirt. The chassis frame as well, you see here. You can use a tool like this or some kind of cleaner